Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a moment to reflect on a question that often tugs at the heartstrings. Why do men leave women who genuinely care about them? It's a question that feels deeply personal yet echoes across so many lives. But understand this is not about blame or fault. It's about uncovering truths and creating space for healing and growth. When someone leaves, especially when you've poured your heart and soul into the relationship, it's easy to feel like the problem lies with you. Questions swirl in your mind. Was my love not enough? Did I do something wrong? But the truth often lies not in what you lacked, but in how the other person sees themselves. Self-worth is a powerful force, shaping how we give and receive love. And when someone feels unworthy of love, it can create a barrier no amount of care can break. Imagine offering someone a gift, a beautifully wrapped box full of kindness, support, and devotion. Now picture them holding that gift, hesitating to open it, or worse, turning away entirely. Why? It's not because the gift isn't valuable. It's because they've convinced themselves they don't deserve it. They believe that no matter how pure the intentions or how sincere the love, it can't possibly be meant for them. This is the silent struggle of low self-worth. For men who leave women who care deeply about them, this internal battle can often be at play. When they're confronted with love that sees them for who they are, their strengths, their flaws, their potential, it forces them to face parts of themselves they may not be ready to accept. Your care becomes a mirror, reflecting back everything they've tried to hide or avoid. If they see cracks in that reflection, insecurities, past failures, or unresolved pain, they might feel overwhelmed and choose to run instead of staying and growing through it. It's important to recognize that this isn't your fault. We all carry wounds from the past, and some people are simply not ready to do the deep work of healing. They might avoid vulnerability because it feels like a risk they can't afford to take. Your love may have been exactly what they needed, but their belief that they weren't ready or worthy of it prevented them from embracing it fully. And that's not something you can fix for them. When someone struggles with self-worth, they often fear being truly seen. Genuine care and attention can be uncomfortable for them because it disrupts the narrative they've been telling themselves that they're unworthy of love, that they're destined to be alone, or that they'll inevitably mess things up. Rather than face these fears, they may choose to walk away from the relationship, convincing themselves that it's better to leave than to risk failing in the face of real love. To you, this may feel like rejection, but for them, it's often a form of self-preservation. It's also crucial to remember that their actions don't reflect your value. Just because someone couldn't receive your love doesn't mean your love wasn't good enough. It means they weren't in a place to hold it. You are not responsible for someone else's inability to see their worth or to accept what you so generously offered. What you gave came from a place of abundance, and that is something to honor and celebrate within yourself. At the same time, this situation invites you to look inward and reflect. Ask yourself if you've been seeking validation through your care for others. Sometimes when we love deeply, it's easy to lose sight of the fact that love must flow both ways. While it's noble to give freely, it's also vital to ensure you're not overextending yourself to compensate for another person's lack of self-love. True connection happens when two people meet each other as equals, both ready to give and receive in harmony. The healing from such an experience begins with compassion for yourself and for the other person. It's tempting to harbor resentment or feel bitter, but holding on to those emotions only keeps you tied to the pain. Instead, focus on what you've learned. You've experienced the depth of your capacity to care, and that's a beautiful thing. You've also seen firsthand how self-worth shapes relationships, which can guide you toward choosing partners who are ready to meet you where you are. Sometimes letting go of someone who isn't ready for your love is the greatest act of love you can show yourself. It's a declaration that you deserve someone who sees your worth just as clearly as you see theirs. It's also a reminder that everyone is on their own journey. While their inability to stay might have hurt, it could be the catalyst they need to begin their own healing. And in time, you'll find that the space their departure created allows room for something even greater to come into your life. The journey of love is not always easy, but it's always meaningful. Every experience, even the painful ones, shapes us into more compassionate, wise, and resilient individuals. When you reflect on why someone left, try to shift the narrative away from "what did I do wrong?" to "what have I learned from this?" With that perspective, you transform loss into growth, pain into wisdom, and heartbreak into a deeper understanding of what you truly deserve. Self-worth is a powerful thing for them, for you, and for anyone seeking real, lasting love. Trust that your care was not wasted. It planted seeds, even if you couldn't stay to see them grow. Most importantly, trust in your own worth, knowing that you deserve love that stays, cherishes, and grows with you. Vulnerability is the bridge to authentic connection, yet for many it feels like the greatest risk they can take. Fear of vulnerability can be a powerful force that pushes people away from relationships, even when those relationships are filled with love and care. It's not about the absence of feelings, rather, it's about the overwhelming fear of what those feelings might reveal or require. When someone leaves despite being deeply cared for, this fear can often be at the root. To be vulnerable means to be seen, truly seen with all your flaws, fears, and imperfections. It's like standing in front of someone without armor, exposing parts of yourself you might not even fully understand or accept. For many men, this exposure can feel terrifying. Society often conditions men to hide their emotions, to equate vulnerability with weakness, and to believe they must always have control. When faced with a relationship that invites openness, they may feel as though they're being asked to dismantle the very walls they've spent a lifetime building to protect themselves. Imagine the weight of carrying emotions they've been told they can't express. They may have been taught to suppress tears, avoid showing fear, and mask any sign of emotional struggle. Then, when they're offered genuine care and love, it can feel unfamiliar and even threatening. It's not that they don't want love, they may deeply crave it. But the process of opening up to it means confronting long-buried fears, insecurities, and vulnerabilities they might not be ready or willing to face. When love enters their life, it challenges their defenses. The person who loves them deeply becomes a mirror, reflecting not just their strengths, but also their wounds. Vulnerability requires trust, and trust requires the belief that sharing their innermost self won't lead to rejection, ridicule, or pain. If a man doesn't trust this process, perhaps due to past heartbreak, childhood trauma, or unresolved emotional struggles, he may choose to withdraw. Leaving feels safer than staying and risking the potential pain of rejection or the perceived loss of control. This fear of vulnerability is not about the person who loves them, it's about their internal struggles. A woman's care and devotion can feel overwhelming because it shines a light on the very parts of themselves they wish to keep hidden. The love they're offered may feel like a demand to share emotions they've been taught to suppress, and that demand can feel too heavy to bear. It's not that they don't value the care, they may treasure it more than they can express, but the fear of being seen in their entirety, flaws and all, can lead them to retreat. This fear often manifests in behaviors that create distance. They might become emotionally unavailable, withdraw from intimacy, or even sabotage a relationship. These actions are not a reflection of the love given to them, rather, they're protective mechanisms. For someone who fears vulnerability, the closer they feel to someone, the greater the perceived risk of getting hurt. leaving becomes a way to avoid confronting the emotions that intimacy stirs up. As someone who loves deeply, it's essential to understand that this fear isn't something you can fix for them. You might see their potential, their goodness, and their ability to heal, but healing is a journey they must choose for themselves. It requires them to unlearn old beliefs about vulnerability, to challenge societal expectations, and to open themselves up to the discomfort of growth. No matter how much love you offer, they must decide to take the risk of vulnerability on their own terms. It's also important to acknowledge the impact this fear can have on you. When someone withdraws, it's natural to question yourself, was I too much? Did I do something wrong? But their fear of vulnerability is not a reflection of your worth. Their inability to stay does not diminish the value of the care you provided. Love is never wasted, even when it isn't reciprocated in the way you hoped. The love you give leaves an imprint, even if they aren't ready to fully embrace it. The experience of loving someone who fears vulnerability can also teach you about yourself. It can help you recognize the importance of emotional safety in relationships and the need for reciprocity. It can encourage you to set boundaries, ensuring that your own emotional needs are met, and that you don't lose yourself in the process of loving someone else. Most importantly, it can remind you that while vulnerability is a risk, it's also the foundation of the deep, authentic connections we all crave. Healing from the pain of someone leaving because of their fear of vulnerability begins with compassion both for them and for yourself. It's easy to feel anger or resentment, but those emotions only keep you tied to the hurt. Instead, focus on what this experience has taught you. Perhaps it's shown you the depth of your capacity to love. Perhaps it's revealed areas where you too can grow. Or maybe it's simply reinforced the truth that you deserve a partner who is ready to meet you with the same openness and courage you bring. Fear of vulnerability is a heavy burden to carry, and it often takes time, patience, and self-reflection to overcome. While you can't do this work for someone else, you can use this experience to deepen your understanding of love, connection, and yourself. Trust that every relationship, even the ones that don't last, serves a purpose in your journey. Let go with grace, knowing that your love was a gift, and that you are deserving of someone who is ready to give and receive it in equal measure. When two people come together in a relationship, their connection is often built on shared feelings of affection, attraction, and care. Yet, the foundation of any enduring partnership is alignment in values. Values are the core beliefs and principles that guide how we see the world, make decisions, and navigate life. When these values are misaligned, even the strongest feelings of love and care can struggle to sustain the relationship. Misaligned values can create subtle tensions that, over time, grow into insurmountable obstacles. Values influence every aspect of our lives, from how we view money, family, and career, to how we approach challenges, communicate, and define success. For instance, one partner might prioritize stability and long-term planning, while the other thrives on spontaneity and living in the moment. Neither approach is inherently wrong, but the clash in priorities can lead to misunderstandings, frustration, and resentment. Over time, these differences create a sense of disconnection, no matter how much the two people care for each other. It's important to understand that misaligned values don't necessarily mean incompatibility from the start. At the beginning of a relationship, the excitement of getting to know someone often overshadows these differences. In the glow of new love, we focus on what connects us rather than what separates us. However, as the relationship deepens and life presents challenges, these underlying differences begin to surface. They may show up in small, seemingly insignificant ways like how to spend weekends or handle conflict, but they often grow into larger issues such as differing visions for the future. For men, misaligned values can be especially challenging. Society often places pressure on them to be providers, protectors, and decision makers, roles that are deeply tied to their personal values. When their values don't align with those of their partner, they may feel an internal conflict that is difficult to articulate. They might question whether they can meet their partner's expectations or whether they are truly compatible in the long term. This inner turmoil can lead to a sense of inadequacy or doubt, pushing them to step away rather than confront these feelings head-on. One of the most significant areas where value misalignment can manifest is in future goals. For example, one partner might dream of building a family, while the other values independence and freedom above all else. These are not simply preferences, they are fundamental aspects of who we are. When these core desires don't align, it can create a sense of being on different paths, even when the relationship is filled with love and care. This divergence can feel like a constant tug of war, with neither partner able to fully compromise without sacrificing a part of themselves. Another common area of misalignment is communication styles and emotional needs. One partner might value open, honest, and frequent communication, while the other believes in handling emotions privately. These differences can lead to feelings of being unheard, misunderstood, or unappreciated. For men who have been conditioned to suppress their emotions, navigating a relationship with someone who values deep emotional connection can feel overwhelming. They may interpret their partner's needs as demands they cannot meet, leading them to withdraw or leave altogether. The challenge with misaligned values is that they are rarely about right or wrong. Instead, they are about differences in perspective and priorities. Both partners may feel justified in their beliefs and struggle to see things from the other's point of view. This lack of understanding can create a cycle of blame and defensiveness, further widening the gap between them. Over time, this gap becomes a barrier to intimacy and connection, making it difficult for the relationship to thrive. While misaligned values can be a source of conflict, they also offer an opportunity for growth and self-awareness. When a relationship ends due to these differences, it invites both partners to reflect on what truly matters to them. It's a chance to clarify their own values and ensure that future relationships are built on a foundation of alignment and mutual understanding. This process is not always easy, but it is essential for creating connections that are fulfilling and sustainable. For the person who cared deeply, it's natural to feel hurt or rejected when a relationship ends due to misaligned values. You may wonder why your love wasn't enough to overcome the differences or why the other person couldn't stay and work through the challenges. But it's important to remember that love, while powerful, cannot erase fundamental differences in how we see the world. Letting go of someone who doesn't share your core values is not a failure. It's an act of self-respect and a step toward finding someone whose path truly aligns with yours. Understanding the role of values in a relationship can also help you approach future connections with greater clarity. Take the time to explore your own values and what you need in a partner to feel fulfilled and supported. When you know what you stand for, you are better equipped to recognize compatibility and build relationships that honor both your individuality and your shared vision. Ultimately, misaligned values teach us that love alone is not always enough. A successful relationship requires more than care and affection. It requires a shared foundation of beliefs and goals. By embracing this understanding, you open yourself to connections that are not only loving but also aligned with who you truly are. Trust that the right person will share your values and walk beside you on a journey of mutual growth, respect, and joy. In relationships, giving is often seen as a cornerstone of love and care. It's a way to express affection, build trust, and nurture the bond between two people. However, the balance in giving is just as important as the act itself. When giving becomes one-sided or disproportionate, it can lead to feelings of exhaustion, resentment, or even a sense of being unappreciated. Achieving balance in giving is essential for a healthy, sustainable relationship, but it requires self-awareness, boundaries, and mutual respect. Many people approach relationships with an open heart, eager to give their time, energy, and support. They may pour themselves into their partner's happiness, offering acts of kindness, thoughtful gestures, and unwavering emotional availability. While this generosity is beautiful, it can sometimes become excessive. When one person gives endlessly without receiving in return, they may begin to feel as though their efforts are taken for granted or that the relationship lacks reciprocity. This imbalance can erode their sense of self-worth and lead to emotional burnout. For some, the tendency to overgive comes from a deep desire to be loved and accepted. They may believe that if they give enough, whether it's through acts of service, emotional support, or financial contributions, their partner will see their value and reciprocate. But giving out of a need for validation can backfire. It creates an uneven dynamic where one person feels obligated to give, and the other may feel overwhelmed by the pressure to match that level of care. Instead of fostering intimacy, this dynamic can lead to disconnection. On the other hand, there are those who struggle to receive. They may find it difficult to accept love, support, or help from their partner due to feelings of unworthiness or fear of dependence. This reluctance to receive can create an imbalance, as their partner may feel rejected or unappreciated. Healthy giving and receiving are a two-way street, where both individuals feel valued, supported, and connected. When one partner consistently gives and the other struggles to receive, the relationship can become strained. Balance in giving also involves recognizing the importance of self-care. It's easy to lose sight of your own needs when you're focused on supporting someone else, but giving to the point of neglecting your well-being is not sustainable. A healthy relationship thrives when both partners are able to give from a place of abundance, not depletion. This means setting boundaries, prioritizing self-care, and being honest about your limits. It's not selfish to take care of yourself. It's necessary for maintaining your capacity to give and receive love. One of the challenges in maintaining balance is understanding the difference between giving freely and giving with expectations. True generosity comes without strings attached. It's an expression of love and care that doesn't demand anything in return. However, it's natural to hope that your efforts will be appreciated and reciprocated. When these hopes turn into unmet expectations, they can breed resentment. Communication is key to addressing this. Being open about your feelings and needs helps prevent misunderstandings and ensures that both partners feel supported. Balancing giving also means recognizing and honoring differences in how people express love. Everyone has their own love language, whether it's words of affirmation, acts of service, quality time, gifts, or physical touch. Understanding your partner's love language can help you give in a way that resonates with them, and vice versa. For example, if your partner values quality time over material gifts, spending an evening together might mean more to them than a grand gesture. When both partners understand and respect each other's ways of giving and receiving love, it creates harmony in the relationship. It's important to remember that balance doesn't mean equality in a strict transactional sense. There will be times when one partner gives more than the other, perhaps during periods of stress, illness, or personal challenges. In a healthy relationship, these moments are temporary and the roles naturally shift over time. The key is to ensure that the overall dynamic feels balanced and that neither partner feels consistently overburdened or undervalued. Achieving balance in giving requires intentionality and self-awareness. It starts with understanding your own patterns of giving and receiving. Ask yourself, are you giving out of love, or are you trying to earn approval? Are you comfortable receiving, or do you push away acts of care? Reflecting on these questions can help you identify areas for growth and create more balanced interactions in your relationship. Ultimately, balancing giving is about creating a partnership where both individuals feel seen, valued, and supported. It's about nurturing a connection that is mutually fulfilling, where each person can give and receive without fear of judgment or rejection. When giving is balanced, it fosters trust, deepens intimacy, and strengthens the bond between partners. It's not about keeping score or demanding equality in every action. It's about building a relationship rooted in mutual respect, love, and care. Letting go of perfection and embracing the ebb and flow of giving and receiving allows both partners to grow together. It creates a dynamic where generosity is not a burden but a joyful expression of connection. In this balance, love thrives and the relationship becomes a space of mutual empowerment and endless possibility. Endings are often seen as moments of loss, heartbreak, and disappointment. They mark the closure of something we once cherished, leaving us with a void that can feel overwhelming. Yet, within every ending lies a powerful opportunity for growth, self-reflection, and transformation. While the pain of an ending is undeniable, it also carries profound lessons that can guide us toward greater self-awareness, resilience, and understanding of life's deeper truths. When a relationship ends, whether romantic, platonic, or professional, it's easy to focus solely on what was lost. We may find ourselves replaying memories, analyzing conversations, or questioning what went wrong. This is a natural response, as endings often disrupt the stability and comfort we've built around that connection. However, by shifting our perspective, we can begin to see endings not as failures, but as necessary chapters in our personal growth. They serve as mirrors, reflecting aspects of ourselves we might not have noticed otherwise. One of the most profound lessons from endings is the importance of self-worth. When a relationship ends, especially one where we felt deeply invested, it can challenge our sense of value and identity. We might wonder if we were enough, if we could have done more, or if there's something inherently wrong with us. But endings remind us that our worth is not tied to another person's ability to stay in our lives. They teach us that no matter how much we give, we cannot control someone else's choices or feelings. This realization empowers us to find our worth within ourselves, rather than seeking validation from external sources. Endings also teach us about the impermanence of life. Nothing lasts forever, and that truth can feel both unsettling and liberating. When we accept that relationships, experiences, and circumstances are not guaranteed to stay the same, we learn to cherish the present moment more fully. We begin to value the connections we have, appreciating them for what they are rather than what we hope they might become. This understanding helps us approach life with a sense of gratitude and openness, knowing that every ending is a reminder to treasure the journey. Another powerful lesson from endings is the value of boundaries and self-respect. Sometimes relationships end because they no longer align with who we are or what we need. While it's painful to let go, it's also an act of self-preservation and growth. Endings teach us to listen to our inner voice, to honor our needs, and to walk away from situations that no longer serve our well-being. This can be especially difficult when we care deeply for the other person, but it reinforces the importance of putting ourselves first in a healthy and compassionate way. Endings also reveal the resilience within us. When faced with the pain of loss, it's easy to feel as though the ground beneath us has been pulled away. But as time passes, we discover an inner strength we may not have known we possessed. The ability to heal, to rebuild, and to move forward is a testament to the human spirit. Every ending we survive adds to our reservoir of resilience, reminding us that we are capable of weathering life's storms and emerging stronger on the other side. Reflection is another critical aspect of learning from endings. When a relationship or chapter in our life comes to a close, it provides an opportunity to look back with honesty and clarity. What did we learn about ourselves? What patterns or behaviors might we want to change? What qualities do we now know are essential in our future relationships or endeavors? By asking these questions, we turn endings into opportunities for self-improvement and deeper understanding. Endings also teach us to let go of attachment. While it's natural to want to hold on to things that bring us comfort and joy, clinging to the past can prevent us from embracing the future. Letting go is not about forgetting or dismissing what we've lost. It's about releasing the grip of longing and accepting that life moves forward. This act of letting go creates space for new beginnings, new opportunities, and new connections that align with who we are becoming. Perhaps one of the most profound lessons of endings is the recognition that they are not truly the end. They are transitions, doorways to new possibilities, and opportunities for rebirth. Every ending carries within it the seed of a new beginning, even if we cannot see it at first. It may take time to fully embrace this truth, but as we heal, we begin to notice the ways in which the ending has cleared a path for something new to emerge. Endings are part of the human experience, and while they are often accompanied by pain, they are also rich with wisdom. They remind us of our capacity to love, to grow, and to adapt. They challenge us to reflect, to let go, and to move forward with courage and grace. Through endings, we learn that life is not about clinging to what was, but about embracing the ever-changing flow of what is and what can be. Self-love is one of the most transformative and empowering forces we can cultivate within ourselves. It goes far beyond mere self-indulgence or fleeting affirmations. It is a deep and enduring relationship with the self, rooted in acceptance, compassion, and respect. To truly embrace self-love is to understand that our worth is inherent, independent of external validation or circumstances. This recognition unlocks profound potential for growth, resilience, and joy. At its core, self-love begins with acceptance. It means embracing who we are in this moment without judgment or comparison. Society often sets impossible standards for beauty, success, and happiness, making it easy to fall into the trap of self-criticism. We might tell ourselves we're not attractive enough, successful enough, or worthy enough, and these thoughts can create a cycle of doubt and insecurity. Self-love disrupts this cycle. It invites us to step back, look at ourselves with kind and understanding eyes, and recognize that we are enough just as we are. This acceptance is not about complacency, rather, it is about acknowledging our humanity and laying a foundation for growth. Self-love also means setting boundaries. It is an act of love to protect our energy, time, and well-being from anything that diminishes us. This might mean saying no to demands that drain us, stepping away from toxic relationships, or choosing to prioritize our needs over pleasing others. Many people struggle with guilt when setting boundaries, fearing they will be perceived as selfish. But boundaries are not walls, they are guidelines that ensure our interactions and choices align with our values and self-respect. When we honor our limits, we create space for relationships and experiences that nurture and uplift us. Another aspect of self-love is self-care. While it can include pampering ourselves with rest and relaxation, self-care goes deeper than surface-level actions. It involves listening to our physical, emotional, and mental needs and responding to them with care. It's about nourishing our bodies with healthy food, movement, and rest. It's about engaging in activities that bring us joy and fulfillment. It's about recognizing when we need help and having the courage to seek it. Self-care is not a luxury or an afterthought. It is an essential practice that sustains our ability to thrive. Self-love also challenges us to let go of perfectionism. Many people equate their worth with their achievements, striving relentlessly for perfection in their work, relationships, or appearance. While ambition and growth are valuable, the pursuit of perfection can be exhausting and self-defeating. Self-love reminds us that mistakes and imperfections are part of the human experience. They do not diminish our value. Instead, they provide opportunities for learning and growth. By embracing our imperfections, we free ourselves from the pressure to be flawless and allow ourselves to be authentic. Forgiveness is another cornerstone of self-love. It requires us to let go of the harsh judgments we hold against ourselves for past mistakes or perceived failures. Many people carry the weight of guilt or regret, replaying moments where they believe they fell short. But self-love teaches us that we are not defined by our past. Each day is a new opportunity to grow, to make different choices, and to be kinder to ourselves. Forgiveness does not mean ignoring our mistakes. It means learning from them and moving forward with a renewed sense of compassion. Cultivating self-love also involves celebrating our uniqueness. Each of us has talents, strengths, and qualities that make us who we are. Yet, it's easy to overlook these gifts or downplay them in the face of comparison. Social media, for example, often amplifies the tendency to measure our worth against others, leaving us feeling inadequate. Self-love calls us to shift our focus inward, to recognize and celebrate what makes us special. It reminds us that our value is not determined by how we measure up to others, but by the authenticity with which we live our lives. One of the most powerful outcomes of self-love is the resilience it builds. Life is full of challenges, disappointments, and uncertainties, and how we navigate them often depends on the relationship we have with ourselves. When we love and trust ourselves, we develop the strength to face adversity with courage and grace. Self-love becomes a steady anchor, reminding us that we are capable, worthy, and deserving of happiness, even in the face of difficulty. Self-love is not a destination, but a lifelong journey. It requires patience, practice, and consistency. There will be days when self-doubt creeps in or when old patterns of self-criticism resurface. But each moment presents an opportunity to choose love over fear, compassion over judgment, and acceptance over rejection. With time, self-love becomes a natural and unshakable part of who we are. The power of self-love is transformative. It shapes how we see ourselves, how we interact with others, and how we move through the world. When we love ourselves, we radiate confidence, peace, and authenticity. We attract relationships and opportunities that align with our worth and values. We inspire others to embrace their own self-worth, creating a ripple effect of positivity and empowerment. Self-love is not just about improving our lives, it's about unlocking the limitless potential within us to live with purpose, joy, and freedom.